You're an Islam fan?
Uh, I guess I'm not as big as the ones you're probably going to debate. You're probably going to debate some people who have him like top five, top three, maybe even the greatest fighter of all time. I have him like right outside my top five, so I'm less of an Islam sympathizer than most.
Okay. Okay, so all right, but for right now, where would you have him in your pound for pound currently, like right now to this day?
Pound for pound, I would have him probably at number four. I'd probably go Ilya or Marab, and then Marab or Ilya, and then I'd have Alex, and then Islam. But if he beats JDM, obviously he becomes number one, in my opinion.
What about Pantoja?
Pantoja is probably number five.
Islam's over Pantoja?
Yeah, yeah. I think he's beaten like a decent amount of lightweight competition, and I know it's like off of the Renato Moicano loss. It's kind of difficult to give him give him some edge in that slide, but I value his early run and when he got the title a long time and his I guess his like overall title reign.
All
But you
right,
could
so
have an
let's
argument for
let's
Pantoja above
let's
him.
let's go through Islam's resume. Let's go through his title reign, since like
Mhm.
let's talk about his title reign. Okay, so he wins the belt from Oliveira in 2022 in round two via arm triangle choke. Right, that was fantastic. My opinion, that's his best win. I have nothing to say about that. Right? You agree?
Mhm.
You think that's his best win?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. All right. So right after that, he goes on and fights Alexander Volkanovski for the first time.
Mhm.
How would you score that fight?
I had it 3-2 marginally to Islam. I had it originally when I first watched it, I watched it on day of. I had it 3-2 to Volk. And then I rewatched it probably four or five times, and now I have him Islam up
So you had
3-2.
Islam 3-2, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes. But I will say it was pretty close.
I've rewatched the fight and I have it 4-1 Alexander Volkanovski. Would you like to hear my we can go round for round. Would you like to go round for round?
Sure.
Okay, so round 1 is the only round that I'm conceding to Islam. I'm going to be honest with you. They both stunned each other. You know what I mean? Islam took Volk's back, but did absolutely nothing. Like, if we're going to be honest here, holding somebody on their back and being a backpack and not threatening any submissions, not being threatening, not landing significant strikes, should not hold you any points. Like, look at the Almeida Volkov fight, for example. You know what I mean?
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay.
All right. Round 2, I give to Volk. Volk drops Islam. He drops him. Like, he puts him down, puts him on his butt. Islam obviously springs back up. Islam wobbled Volk, but he didn't sit him down. In boxing, just off of that, that would be an instant 10-8 round for Volkanovski. He dropped him.
Are you referring to the slip?
Wasn't it? He dropped him.
Can I see? Do you have
I mean, I can't play UFC. I can't play UFC content.
Oh, right. Yes.
You
Okay.
know what I mean? But
Let me
but
try to
yeah,
pull
I
it up on
mean,
mine.
in my personal opinion, that was a knockdown. Round 2,
Round
I
two.
believe it
Okay.
was before the 3rd minute mark, if my memory serves me kindly.
Okay. I see a. Is it after the fourth minute? Or sorry, you said after the
I don't know. My
round
memory's
three.
not that locked down. I just know it's before the 3rd minute. But yeah, in my opinion, that was a drop. He went down. Even if that's a slip, if you're just watching that as a judge, you don't have time to like run that back and fully analyze that. He fell to the ground. That was a
Well, I mean,
knockdown.
in terms of like numerically after the fight, you can see that it wasn't declared a knockdown; it was declared a slip, right? So, like, I mean, regardless of what the judges thought, I mean, he still. I mean, first of all, he recovered from it and got the takedown after it. But then, second of
But
all, it wasn't even a knockdown because there was no contact from it.
even if you're watching that round non-biasedly, Volkanovski wins that round just off of the bigger moments. Him dropping Islam, even if that's a slip, it was as soon as he ate a strike, he instantly slips, like in quotation mark slips. But that he wins off the bigger moments. And again, like I said in round 1, if you're taking somebody down and not threatening anything, and your opponent looks fine, and and you guys are just hanging out on the bottom. You're just not letting him get up. You're not even raining significant strikes. In this round, in round 2, by the way, they had equal strikes 30-30 and equal significant strikes 19-19. So that's why I give that to Volk. He drops Islam.
Okay, well, if it's declared a slip, then I would consider it a slip, no?
Okay, if you consider it a
Like
slip, but is that not
after
a
the
bigger
fight.
moment?
Well, what's big about it? I mean, he recovered,
The
and all the
crowd
hype
react.
of
The
the moment
crowd
was gone.
reacted like absurdly. The crowd's like cheered. It was a huge moment in the fight.
Mm.
That crowd reactions play a huge part in the judges like scoring fights. That's common.
Um, I mean, I guess, but like it's still. I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with the knockdown, though.
It does because they cheered via the knockdown.
But it wasn't counted as one, no?
Okay. 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 So the crowd
Just
is just
numerically.
mistaken. The crowd is just mistaken.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, like if someone falls in MMA, like 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get a crowd reaction regardless of whether you knocked him down or not,
Like the
right?
clip of the guy running around in the octagon in circles before, like as soon as the referee starts the fight and he slips and falls and then gets knocked out. That's a slip. But Islam fell to the ground as soon as he ate a strike. So you can call that a slip or not. Like that doesn't seem like a slip to me, bro. Like, come on, like he eats. If you're watching a street fight and you see somebody get hit and then they instantly fall to the ground, you're gonna be like, oh my god, he just got dropped. Like that, he just got dropped.
Okay, well, I'm looking at it right now. I see the left hook is the one that's supposed to be the one that made contact with him,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really not seeing any contact made with his chin.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna have to slow motion it. I'm gonna have to play it back, but okay. All right, we'll move past the second round. We'll move past
I
the
don't know,
second
like
round.
obviously it goes really fast, so I'm just gonna take the word of how they evaluated the fight after, right?
Okay.
Because they were probably doing in-depth analysis to track the stats anyway, right? So there's really, really very little room for error. And in that fashion, and actually this was the round that I gave to Volk initially. But the problem is that I understand what you mean with the whole like Almeida thing, like the grappling and like how like no activity should be rewarded, like not doing anything on the ground should be rewarded, but like I'd say the between like 345 and 315 was a scramble. It was Volk getting up to his feet after he got taken down from the slip or the knockdown or whatever you interpret it as.
Mm-hmm.
And then once he got taken down, like that specific moment where you're taking down someone should count more than if you're just kind of laying on top of him, you know? And Islam taking his back is also kind of implying, in my opinion, that he was trying to go for a submission, right? Because like objectively, being in her back is not necessarily a better position to knock someone out in the first place, which is why I personally gave it to him for his ground impact. Like if he was just like laying on top of him and like throwing like little shots like Hamzat was against Dricus, I would give Volt a round, but because he was like actively trying to take his back and constantly trying to throw him and take him down, that's why I kind of gave him the round.
Okay. Even after round two, Volkanovski in the corner says to his cornerman that Islam is not strong. Do you have anything to say about that?
The no.
Oh, okay. I feel like that plays a big part if you're just holding somebody down. You know what I mean? And you're trying to be a significant wrestler. You know what I'm trying to say? And your opponent's like, nah, man, he wasn't even strong. I'm fine. Let's move on to the
I mean,
next round.
that makes sense, but like I can't really take um like the word of a cornerman or the word of a
It's the word
fighter
of the fighter.
into account. Okay, well, I still can't because it's not the actual fight, right? I mean, like in Conor versus Habib, right? Like you could see Conor's face was like visually damaged. He was pretty cardioed up before entering the fourth round,
Mhm.
right? But obviously, as you know, a fighter and especially a cornerman, you're gonna tell yourself that you're doing okay just to get yourself amped up so you have a better chance of going in the round anyway, right? So I don't really see what that has to do with
They
kind of
asked
the
him a
fight.
they asked him a question as soon as the round ended. It wasn't really like a hyping up thing. They asked him before he even got to the stool. He said, "No, bro,
Right,
he's
but
not strong."
But if he said no, then cut the they would have, tried to have him change his strategy, right? So I mean, like subconsciously, it's either yes or no. You either say yes, he is strong, or no, he isn't strong. And as a fighter, you're probably always going to lean towards the fact that yes, in order to tell yourself that you have a chance of beating him, right?
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, round three. Round three. You know, it was super close. It was very close. But Volkanovski judo through Islam. Volkanovski had at least three sickening reversals down there. And let's not forget, Volkanovski was the underdog, the massive underdog coming into this fight. Nobody thought Big Volk had a chance against Islam Makhachev. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little biased. Maybe round three is Islam's. Maybe round one and round three is Islam's. But the reversals that Volkanovski was showing in the wrestling exchanges and in the judo throw that he managed to get off on Islam Makhachev, it's fantastic. That was fantastic for me. I'm not gonna lie. Personally, that gives him the round for me. But Islam is up on the stats by one total strike. He has 20 total strikes, and Volk has 19. So I'll concede. I'll give round three to Islam, but round 4 and round 5 are unmistakably Volkanovski's. Like it's honestly unarguable. Like you literally cannot even like. Do you have an argument that round 4 or round 5 is able to be taken for Islam Makhachev?
The round five is definitely Volk's. That's unquestionable. But
Mm-hmm.
round four, I mean, if a fighter is taking your back, I'm
He's
most
not
likely gonna.
threatening anything, man.
Well, taking your back implies that you're trying to go for a submission, because if you weren't, then you'd be in a different position. If you're trying to beat him to death, then you go for a ground and pound.
He had more strikes than Islam via times 2.5.
But he's
He did
in a
nothing with the
submissive position.
control time, man. He did literally nothing with the control time. Absolutely zero with the control time. You can control somebody, but if you're not damaging them, like what are you doing? You're resting. You're in a dominant position, but you're actively resting.
Okay. I mean, I guess I kind of understand what you're saying, but like even like if you can, I have the fight pulled up around 230 or 225. You can see that he's trying to go for a neck crank of sorts by bringing his left arm over around Volk's neck,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this constant pressure was something that sort of led me to um, favor Islam in that matchup. And of course, Volk was like super duper hype and he was getting some shots off, but that actually didn't start until around 130 when he took his arm off and then started battling with Makhachev. And if Volk was the only one that was striking, if Volk was the only one that was throwing shots, I probably would have given it to him. But considering that both were hitting each other like simultaneously within that current moment, that's kind of why I gave it to Islam, because all things considered, if everything in the round was the same, um, I would prefer the one who was in a dominant position, meaning taking your back, and who had gotten the takedown initially at the moment. And also, there wasn't any significant um, pressure from any specific fighter at the beginning on the feed before. So that's kind of why I gave it to Islam in round four. Yeah.
Even with the damage, did you see the Islam's face after the fight? Even with all of the damage Islam Makhachev took from a small 145 pounder, you're still going to give him that round? I
Well, I
find
mean,
that
okay, so
absurd.
I mean, like I wouldn't. Okay, so the fact that he's 140, the 100, originally a 145 pounder isn't like something that I took into account. In my opinion, this is like an all-time win, and the reason is because if you have Volk super duper high on your all-time list, which like a majority of people do, he's probably top five consensus across the board, right? If you have him in your top five, and you're at least competing with him. I didn't see Islam like lose control in any fashion. I mean, obviously, we have our opinions on what's damage and what's actually, um, I guess, impactful in terms of fighting wise. But
Right.
I mean, for me specifically, like the fact that he's a 145 pounder wasn't really like an issue for me. Like I, I think um, I didn't think Volk would beat him, but like to say that he wouldn't give him a tough fight because of 10 pounds was like I never thought that he was like completely blown out of the water. I mean, like especially if you're going like up a weight class where you have to administer less of a weight cut, where you're less exposed to injury, where you're probably having more fun in training. Um, like I would have initially given um the ease to actually Volk. So
Listen, I lost a lot of money during the professional outcome of this fight, so I will never let this go. I will always say
I did
that
too. I bet Volk to win.
I will always say that Volkanovski won this, man. Islam Makhachev, if name one big moment that Islam had during this fight besides him wobbling Volkanovski in the same round that Volkanovski dropped Islam. That Islam slipped officially.
Well, I mean, like you can win an MMA in a fight in two ways. You can either have a collection of really big moments that put you up on the scorecard, or you can have a constant grinding battle where you're gaining position. And I think that's kind of what led me to favor Islam. Because I mean, mind you, it was in Perth, right? So it was in Australia. So obviously Volk had his own crowd bias. Obviously, they were
Right.
cheering for their own guys.
His
So
big moments.
um,
I got it. That's
yeah.
true.
So I mean, that's still to this day why I kind of favor Islam. But yeah, I lost money on the fight too, man. I was still upset. Okay, and I honestly I think there is some truth to your video in terms of how much people overrate him. I definitely think that we've gone a little high on our horses in terms of where he could be all time, at least relative to other people on the list. But like I had this pretty much 3-2, but I had it razor close, and I was upset on day of, but I've come to live with it, I guess. I don't know.
But we can we at least do, even though we disagreed on who won that fight, we can at least say whoever won that fight, it was questionable, right? It was a questionable
Yes,
win.
you could pick um
Either one, right?
I wouldn't say you could pick either one. I have Islam winning by a very, very slight margin. And I
Okay.
think that that should be like the like given that I bet Volk initially, so I have some a little bit of bias towards him. I still have Islam as the person who should have won the fight after watching it over and over again.
Okay. Well, just this is gonna come up later, so I just want to restate this, right? Just to plant the seed. Volkanovski is an extremely small 145 pounder, and Islam Makhachev was not able to submit Volkanovski, while Islam is renowned as one of the most threatening submission artists and wrestlers we have ever seen. I just want to state that before we move forward with this list. All right. So,
Can I respond to that?
if yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't think that's like actually like a bad thing. And like, I know you said extremely small. I tend to disagree. I mean, Volk started off his amateur MMA career at middleweight and then slowly made
He was
a
in
progression
welterweight at
towards
the UFC.
145. What was that?
I say he was in welterweight at the UFC. I'm pretty sure.
Correct,
And
correct. So
but he was always small stature wise. He was always a wide dude and heavy set, but he was a small dude stature wise. Is what I mean by that, like height wise.
height wise, yeah,
Okay.
but like I knew that he made a really really big weight cut to 145. Like if you've ever seen a photo of him cutting to 145, he looks like he's on death's door, almost just as much as Islam.
Yeah,
Probably
same
not as
as
much as
Islam.
Islam,
Same as Islam.
but
Yeah.
he's right there.
Yeah.
So like I really don't like to discount Islam for those for that just because if it was like 25 pounds, that was like the original difference. Like, for example, if Makhachev beat JDM on November 22nd, which I don't think he will, but
Mhm.
if he did, and then Ilya Topuria beat whoever his next opponent is, and they faced a 170, I would probably treat that fight like you treat the Volk and Islam fight, which is I would count it, I guess, on Islam's record, but I would count it on a very, 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 very small um, bonus for him because it's a 25-pound difference, right? Islam is like almost naturally a welterweight. Like if you've seen pictures of him, he's basically 190 pounds,
Right.
right? So in that instance, I would probably treat Islam the same way you're treating him. Be like, I don't know if this is so good for resume, especially if Tapor gives him like a really difficult fight, and if Islam isn't able to take him down, then it makes me question the legitimacy of whether Islam is actually a threat or not. But in terms of like 10 pounds, I really don't believe that that's like super duper impactful. I believe that it's not negligible, but like it is something to take account of. But at the same time, like Volk was a big 155er, and he's also the most skilled fighter on the planet at the time. All being why he was pound for pound number one at the time. So
Right.
that's kind of why the fact that he was pound for pound number one, and the fact that he was a big featherweight in terms of size, not in terms of height, but in terms of width, that those are the two reasons why I don't really discount him for that.
Okay. All right. So let's move on. Let's move on to the next fight in Islam's resume. Now it's a canceled Charles Oliveira rematch. And Alex Volkanovski steps in on short notice. I believe it's 2 weeks short notice in Abu Dhabi. And goes and gets a head kicked in the first round. Knocked out. Separated from existence. And I cried. I dropped a tear as a man. Okay, this was a vicious time for me. And I think in my opinion, the robbery in the first fight and then him decimating Alex Volkanovski in the rematch has put me on a warpath against Islam Makhachev, and I'm here to tear down his legacy right now. But that fight, I mean, yes, he did knock out Alex Volkanovski, but it was on 2 weeks short notice. It was on 2 weeks short notice. And then he gets knocked out by Ilya, but then he comes back and wins the belt. So he redeems himself. So I don't really know how much to say about this win for Islam Makhachev. I mean, I don't like it. I can't really say it's fraudulent besides it being short notice, to be honest with you. That you know what I mean? Anything to say about the Islam Volkanovski 2?
Yeah, I would almost completely agree. In my opinion, yeah, I wouldn't count it in terms of like, so if I were to like rank the wins and put them into tiers, I probably have um Volk control somewhere at the top, and I'd probably have the second Volk win at like an okay,
Okay.
borderline great, but probably okay. Just because, if you're without a training camp, that's quite the if you're without a training camp, without nutrition and without a weight cut, that's pretty difficult to give
But to be
Islam. I
fair,
know,
to
I know
give
that.
Islam a bone, Volk didn't really have to do a weight cut. He had to cut like maybe 10 pounds, bro. To be fair.
Yeah, but like I don't know. In my opinion, I kind of view it in the same fashion. I don't really like even when I'm counting resume, like I don't really count it all too much. I mean, it's a head kick. It's impressive, but like at the same time, I'm not gonna credit you for beating a 2 week Fat Volk on short notice, and also that made me a little sad as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna. But I will say like the personal biases on fighters. I'm definitely not new to that whole thing. Like I'm a big Daniel Cormier fan. So I hate John Jones with like a really, really specific passion.
Feel that.
And so every single time I see him get mentioned in GOAT debates, I have him like super far below my list because just can't get over the fact that he beat him the first time. The second time I don't really care about.
Yeah, the
But
first time. The first time really hurts.
first time really hurt. So
Yep.
I completely understand, and I pretty much feel the same way about you for that folk one.
Now, this is I'm going to bring up something cuz right after this is where I have a massive problem with Islam Makhachev. Now, after the Volkanovski win, it's 2023. It's October 1st of 2023. The next since Islam won the belt a year ago. So October 21st, 2023, he defends the belt a second time against Alex Volkanovski. October 22nd, 2022. So a year ago. He has fought 3 times in 1 year. So that's fantastic. Fantastic. No problems with that for me. Now, after this, we don't see Islam's from October 21st, 2023, when he beats up Alex Volkanovski the second time, to June 1st of 2024, where he fights 35-year-old Dustin Poirier, and he takes him into the 5th round. Now, we need to have a serious conversation about this. Now, Islam Makhachev went tooth and nail. Tooth and nail. This wasn't a robbery, but this was a close fight. against a dude who is one fight away from retirement. How highly do you rank this win? This Dustin Poirier win?
The it's a pretty good win. In terms of like all time great. Okay, I would consider it a great win.
In Dustin Poirier's fights leading up to the Islam Makhachev fight, he gets head kick knocked out by Justin Gaethje round 2, UFC 291. Then at UFC 299, he has a comeback spectacular, almost Alex Pereira, Israel Adesanya knockout against Benoit Saint Denis. Like, nobody saw this coming. It was straight domination from Benoit, and then Dustin just kind of takes over. From Dustin being 1-1 in his last 2, and if you even want to take it further, he's 2-2 in his last 4, leading up to this Islam Makhachev fight. And Islam takes him into the 5th round. Dustin scarred Islam for the rest of his life. Islam has a massive gash on his forehead from Dustin Poirier. Every fight that Islam Makhachev takes into the later rounds, he takes massive damage. Like, massive damage. For a dude who is like a superb wrestler and supposedly one of the most dangerous dudes that we've ever seen, he's taking 35-year-old guys who are 2-2 in their last 4 to the 5th round. I really don't hold this win highly at all. In my opinion, leading up to this fight, I actually went to the fighter. Funny, so I went to the fighter hotel because this is in my city. This is in New Jersey, UFC 302. I went to the fighter hotel trying to meet Islam and Dustin Poirier, just trying to feel the vibes out. I didn't get to see them. I saw Alex and Justin and all those guys, but I thought that Islam Makhachev was going to submit Dustin Poirier round 1. And I don't like Islam. I thought that Islam was going to have an extremely dominant performance, and watching that fight, it like solidified that Islam is seriously not as good as we thought he was. Do you like have any reasoning on why Islam Makhachev wasn't able to finish Dustin Poirier sooner than round 5?
I mean, not other than the fact that Dustin Poirier is a dog. I think that he got taken down in the first couple of rounds and he got controlled, but after that point, I think he did well to defend the takedowns. Um, but I mean, for me, there are two pieces of criteria in terms of what illegitimizes that win, right? It's the fact that he's old and the fact that he wasn't as good trained a grappler, right? And the responses I would give to those are the fact that we've definitely seen older fighters being beaten by some of the people that were in the thumbnail of the TikTok video that you posted,
Right.
right? Who were around 35, 36, who you still count toward a person's resume, but for some reason, Islam receives another standard, which, in my opinion, shouldn't happen. Now, it's not the same fighter, right? Obviously, I'm referring to Ilia Topuria beating the 35-year-old Volk
Right.
and Islam beating the 35-year-old Dustin. Not the same fighter by any sense of the measure. But what I will say is that Dustin was coming off a KO win where he was on a high, and he got a title shot off of beating a 13th ranked contender
Yeah.
versus Volk having been just knocked out at a weight class above him and having to come back
To defend his
from that
belt.
to defend his belt, right? So that's kind of the first reason in terms of where I see him in terms of being old. He was old for sure, but in terms of like the oldest we ever seen someone fight at the lower weight classes, I really don't think like he was super old to the point where he was impaired in his abilities to fight, right? If I could see like a very big discrepancy in terms of his striking speed or his reaction time or his ability to just move with the fly or tough things out, um, I would probably say that, maybe we can cut him some slack and probably dock Islam a bit more points. But Dustin seemed very natural. He flowed very well. His boxing was on point and he was going basically tit for tat up until the 5th round. Um, so, I mean, for that specific reason, I don't discount him for being old. Um, and I low-key forgot my second point because I'm losing my train of thought.
Okay. All right. So now what we can also point to is Islam Makhachev's teammate, uh, cousin, I believe, Habib Nurmagomedov, undefeated, 29-0. He also fought Dustin Poirier. He fought Dustin Poirier. Let me just check the year just to make sure I'm correct. Islam Makhachev fought Dustin Poirier in 2024, and Habib fought Dustin Poirier 5 years previously in 2019. In 2019, that was prime Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is coming off beating Max Holloway, Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje, and Anthony Pettis. 4-fight win streak, an insane win streak. Goes to fight Habib Nurmagomedov. Habib Nurmagomedov submits him in round 3. Islam fights the same guy who is 5 years senior, and takes him to the 5th round. He does finish him, but he takes him 2 rounds further. Do you hold Islam over Habib?
Yes, but not on the account of the Dustin win.
What is that? Can you expand on that thought?
As in, I don't factor the Dustin win, being why I don't factor the Dustin win in the equation in terms of why I have him over Habib.
Okay, well, we have one more fight on Islam's resume. We're going to circle back to the Habib point in a second. But the last fight that we have on Islam's resume is a canceled Arman Tsarukyan fight, and Renato Moicano steps in under 24 hours short notice, and he gets submitted in under a minute. I mean, that I'm like that honestly, in my opinion, couldn't even be there. Like, I hold that win like nothing. That win is seriously nothing. Now, do you have anything to say about the Renato Moicano win? Like, do you hold that extremely highly on your pedestal of Islam wins?
The I think it's okay, but if I'm being honest, um, I mean, like I I count it, but like at a very minimal rate, just because he had already gone through training camp, right? It's not like he was like a 2 week fat bull coming off the couch, like no training camp, no nothing, right? He was training for that for another fight and another fighter, so he's watching film on another fighter, but he was training for a grappler and he was going through a weight cut and he was going through a training camp. So I wouldn't like necessarily discredit him for all of it, but I will discount him for the fact that Arman Sarukian is a way better competitor and way more of a task
My
to Islam than to beat.
my point in discrediting this is Renato Moicano was on a 5-fight win streak, just beat Benoit Saint-Denis via doctor stoppage, eye injury, lol. And in his post-fight, he says, "I want easy fight, no more hard fights. Please give me an easy fight." So they booked him an easy fight. They booked him Beneil Dariush. And in my opinion, I don't think Renato Moicano was taking that fight camp extremely serious, especially not Islam Makhachev level serious. You know what I mean? And that's why he got submitted in about 55 seconds. But it's all right. I mean, he did beat Renato Moicano. But an issue here that, like, the reason why I wanted to go through his little championship run here is he wins the belt in 2022. He drops it in 2025. Since he won the belt, I don't know if you want to count that Charles Oliveira win, and we can. Since he wins the belt, we'll scratch off Charles Oliveira, but he only beats 3 lightweight contenders in 3 years. And Renato Moicano was honestly not a contender, but we'll count him as a contender because that was supposed to be Arman Tsarukyan. So
Mhm.
that's another reason why Islam is not on my top 5 pound for pound list. You cannot defend your belt in your division 3 times in 5 years, and then you're supposed to be the baddest man on the planet. Like, I honestly, his wins are getting less and less dominant as the time goes on. Hence the Dustin Poirier round 5 win.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just hold that Volk win, like skill for skill, in very high regard, just considering that Volk was such a great fighter, especially because he was coming off of like a huge win streak. So like for me personally, I have like Volkswagen like almost like pedestaling his resume, disregarding the Charles Oliveira fight and like maybe the Dustin Poirier fight, depending on how you feel on it. But um, what I will say to that is, there were many, many fighters in history that didn't have a super active championship run who were listed on the pound for pound list for very, very long. I mean, think about Conor McGregor's featherweight and lightweight run. Like he beat Jose Aldo, that's deserving of a number one or number two or number three pound for pound list.
Hmm.
Um, and then he left, and then he fought Nate Diaz, and he stayed on the pound for pound list for a very, very long time until he beat the lightweight champion Eddie Alvarez, in which he got back in it and never defended that belt either, right? So
He dropped
an
it.
inactive champion existing isn't like a new thing. We've had many champions in the past, across every single weight class that haven't been as active as we wanted. I mean, currently, even for me, like currently, like Ilia Topuria has been, beginning to get on my nerves. Just considering that he hasn't fought. Um, I mean, not that he hasn't fought, just because he doesn't have any 1-2 fight because the UFC is still trying to figure that out. But
Well, off
he,
topic.
he
They to off topic. My personal theory on the Ilya Tuporia thing. Just a quick sidebar for 5 seconds. They're not going to give him Patty. The next Ilya Tuporia fight has to be a filler fight because they want the Islam Makhachev Ilya Tuporia fight. They're saving Ilya Tuporia for the Paramount card because they want to show the Paramount executives and the shareholders that they could do big events. So they're going to hold Ilya Tuporia event in January. That's my personal opinion. That's why they've been holding him since his win against Charles Oliveira over the summer. And in my personal opinion, they're going to give that to Justin Gaethje. Arman Tsarukyan already has a fight booked against Dan Hooker. There's no way he's making that quick turnaround in January. They need somebody who is going to stand there and willingly trade and trade blows with Ilya Tuporia. And we are all going to bet that Ilya Tuporia puts somebody down who's willing to trade with them. And Justin Gaethje's the best person who is more than willing to sit there and trade blows with somebody. That's my personal theory on the Ilya Tuporia thing. But go ahead. Sorry.
that's probably a correct theory. Honestly, like a little bit of it's just me being pissed off that no one wants to fight him and no one wants to be inactive in this lightweight division. But I mean, my point being is that this is not the first time that we've seen a quote unquote inactive fighter, or well, not quote unquote, just like in general, an inactive fighter, right? I mean, and we basically mythologized Khabib in the MMA community for a very, very long time. But mind you, he only had two titles two title defenses in 2.5 years because of injuries, Ramadan, and then we had COVID for a long time, and he fought during COVID, but it's still a long time to be inactive. Um, John Jones also had a period of inactivity. Obviously, he went those 12 fights without it, but obviously his PAD struggles.
Can I
Um,
interject for a second? The
yeah,
reason
go for it.
the reason that Habib is so idolized in the MMA community is honestly the 3-win streak, and because it was so dominant. It was so dominant. It was so dominant. It was nothing like we've ever seen before, and everybody was in their prime. Charles was in his prime. Justin was in his prime. Dustin was in his prime. That was an insane run. It was the likes of something that dude looked actually unbeatable. I mean, not Charles. Conor McGregor. That dude, Habib, looks literally unbeatable. He looked like an unbeatable savage. And then to top off that legendary run, he just stops doing MMA, which leaves everybody puzzled and more interested in his story, and leaves his legend to be bigger than it is.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, I guess my point being is that like, I mean, for any of these fighters that were kind of inactive, quote unquote, you can, I guess, attribute any of them to any specific reason, depending on personal bias or whatever. But ultimately, there has been a history of people who haven't been as active as as other title challengers and haven't been active as much as the UFC wanted, and which is why if you were to put Alexander Pantoja above Islam on the pound for pound list right now, I wouldn't be too mad at it. I wouldn't really debate it, and I wouldn't really call you crazy over it either. Um, I'd say that, if he were to beat JDM, I would probably want to demand a slight amount of respect for Islam, considering that he moved up in weight and it's a really, really tall task. But I
Now, my personal opinion: if Islam Makhachev goes out there and beats JDM, right? I have JDM dominating that fight. But My counter argument, and I'm going to be 100% honest with you, my counter argument to Islam Makhachev beating JDM is, who did JDM beat? Bilal Muhammad, Gilbert Burns, and Kevin Holland. That's literally it. Those are the only three people that he has beat. Now the Bilal Muhammad fight was a domination. That was a beatdown. But the Gilbert Burns fight and the Kevin Holland fight, those were also beatdowns. But like, who are those guys? You know what I mean? Though that's going to be my argument if Islam Makhachev gets through JDM. I'm still going to hold that against him personally. I'm going to be like, well, you fight once a year. You dropped your belt. You were forced to drop your belt because you didn't want to fight Ilya. Ilya moved up before you dropped your belt. You ran away from that fight, in my personal opinion. And you moved up to fight a guy who is new. He's like 28 years old. He's way younger than you. And even though that's JDM, that's in JDM's advantage. But I'm just saying he has no resume. He has no established resume. That's a fact.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay, at what point or at what achievement would Islam have to turn you to his favor? Maybe not to his
If
favor, but at
Islam
least gain a little respect on his
if
resume.
Islam beats Ilya, I will bow down to Islam and call him the best fighter we've ever seen, and I'll put him. He would be the GOAT. If
At any weight class?
Islam at any weight, I mean, obviously at 155, I would hold that way higher. But if Ilya moves up to 170, honestly, I would hold that. Honestly, no. If he just beats Ilya Tuporia, I think I would hold that very equally. Anyway, even if it's at fucking 205 pounds, I would hold that pretty equally.
That's interesting.
Especially
I feel like
if
we
it's
did
if
that.
it's an even fight, if it's nobody's taking this on short notice, everybody has a full weight camp. I'm not holding injuries. Like if you decide to take this fight, like if Ilya takes a fight with a torn pec muscle, then that's on you, bro. Like I don't know what to tell you. I will then Islam's the GOAT.
That's fair. That's
I'm
fair.
gonna be
I
honest
mean,
with you.
yeah, yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, I guess that's it. That's it for me.
Yeah, I believe that's it, bro. Thank you so much for your time. Do you have anything
Yeah.
you like? Any socials you want? I'm gonna put your socials in the description if you want me to. But anything you want to shout out before I end it right here?
No, not really, man. Thank you for the debate. It was really cordial, really cool.
Hell yeah, bro. I really appreciate your time and hell yeah.